Here are 12 items you need to prepare before summer ends. If the power went out tonight, how long could your family preserve food, medicine, and the ability to communicate? After only about 4 hours, many perishable foods in the refrigerator may no longer be safe. By evening, the house is still hot, the Wi-Fi is gone, and the phones have very little battery left. At that point, even a house full of supplies may not help if everything depends on electricity, clean water, or the ability to cook. Today's list includes 12 items many families don't think about until it's already too late. And the number one item determines whether the other 11 will actually work. 12. Manual can opener. You can stock up on 100 cans of food before summer ends. But if the power goes out and you can't open them, for all practical purposes, you still have no food. That gap isn't an expensive device. It's just a manual can opener. Canned tuna, meat, beans, soup, vegetables, and fruit can all be stored for a long time. But your entire stockpile still depends on one final step. You have to be able to open the can. When this power goes out, the electric can opener stops working. That's also when many families discover that their manual can opener is missing, rusted, or no longer works smoothly. Using a knife or scissors to pry open a can is not a reliable option. It's slow, difficult to control, and can easily cause an injury at the exact moment when access to medical help may be more difficult. Manual can openers are still included on official emergency preparedness lists alongside canned food. This reminds us that owning food and actually being able to access it are two different things. Preparing is simple. You should have at least 2. Keep one in the kitchen and one in your emergency kit. If you often travel far from home, a small one in your vehicle emergency kit is also useful. Don't wait until the power goes out to test it. Try opening a few cans to make sure the gears turn smoothly, the cutting wheel grips firmly, and the handles aren't uncomfortable. If someone in your household is older, has arthritis, or has weak grip strength, choose one with large, soft grip handles and an easy turn mechanism. Backup equipment is only valuable if the person who needs it can use it. You also shouldn't store both in the same place. If the kitchen floods, a drawer gets stuck, or you have to leave home quickly, the second one will still be ready. A can opener doesn't create more food. It simply makes sure that when your family needs the food you already bought, the final door can still be opened. A resource you cannot access is not a real resource. The next item is also very inexpensive, but when trash begins piling up, supplies get wet, and clean items start mixing with dirty ones, it can keep the entire house from spiraling out of control. 11. Heavy-duty trash bags. After a day without power, food in the refrigerator may begin to spoil, wet towels pile up, and trash may no longer be collected on schedule. That's when heavy-duty trash bags become far more important than many people realize. They're not just for taking out the trash. During a storm, localized flooding, or an extended power outage, heavy-duty bags help separate food waste, wet clothing, dirty items, and things that are still clean. That separation may sound minor, but it can determine whether your home remains under control or quickly turns into a mess. Imagine the refrigerator has been without power for hours. Water from melting ice runs down into the compartments. Meat, milk, eggs, and leftovers need to be thrown away. Wet towels, packaging, and belongings all have to be dealt with at the same time. If everything is thrown together, food waste will create odors, dirty water will spread to clean items, and insects may appear. A thin bag tearing open in the middle of the floor only forces you to start cleaning all over again. That's why you should choose bags that are thick, large enough, and strong enough to hold wet items, cans, or objects with hard edges. Besides holding trash, they can be used to collect wet clothing, separate dirty shoes, and temporarily protect documents and small items from water or dust. If you have to leave home quickly, a few large bags can even serve as temporary storage containers or suitcases. Keep one roll inside the house and another in the garage or emergency kit. Prepare some ties and a marker as well. Clearly label each bag trash, wet items, needs washing, or clean items so no one handles them incorrectly. If older adults live in the home, don't make the bags too heavy. Dividing everything into several smaller bags will make them easier to lift, easier to carry, and safer. Heavy-duty trash bags cannot stop a storm or restore trash collection. But when outside systems stop working, they help maintain order inside the home. A home doesn't lose control just because one item is missing. It begins to lose control when trash, dirty water, wet belongings, and clean items are no longer kept separate. The next items are products everyone assumes they can buy at any time, until the entire area needs them on the same afternoon. 10. Basic hygiene supplies. Toilet paper, bar soap, hand sanitizer, and paper towels are things you should buy before summer ends. Don't forget disinfecting wipes and small trash bags. A family can store enough food for 2 weeks and still quickly lose any sense of normal daily life if there is no longer a way to keep hands, the kitchen, and the bathroom clean. That's the part many people overlook. These products are always on store shelves, so we assume they can be purchased at any time. But when a storm is forecast, the power supply is at risk of disruption, or residents are advised to prepare at home. Many households in the same area will all buy extra quantities of the exact same items. The problem isn't necessarily that factories have stopped producing them. The retail system is simply designed for steady daily consumption, not for large quantities of toilet paper, soap, and paper towels being purchased on the same afternoon. By the time you remember that you have only one roll of toilet paper or one bar of soap left, the people around you may have just realized the same thing. On the first day, everything still seems normal. By the second day, paper towels start being rationed, hygiene waste begins piling up, and dirty surfaces aren't cleaned as quickly as before. By the third day, simple tasks like wiping down a table, washing your hands, or dealing with trash start taking more time and can easily make the entire family feel stressed. Without soap, it's difficult to clean your hands after handling trash, raw food, or dirty items. Without paper towels and wipes, spilled water and dropped food can easily spread to other areas. Without small trash bags, used wipes and hygiene waste may become mixed in with items that are still clean. None of those problems seem serious on its own, but when they all occur in a hot home without power and with several people living in it, a small inconvenience can quickly turn into disorder. Hygiene is not a secondary concern. It's the barrier that keeps outside disruption from spreading into chaos inside the home. You don't need to overbuy. Check how much your family actually uses and prepare enough for about 1 to 2 weeks. Bar soap is a good choice because it's compact, inexpensive, and stores well. Hand sanitizer is useful when clean water isn't readily accessible, but it does not completely replace washing your hands with soap and water. Divide your supplies between 2 locations, one portion for everyday use, and one backup supply in a sealed, dry container. If one area becomes damp, flooded, or difficult to access, you'll still have a second supply. For older adults, choose products that are easy to open, don't have an overpowering scent, and are stored somewhere easy to reach. The best time to buy these items is while they're still too ordinary for the crowds to notice. Which item in this hygiene group does your family usually run out of first? Share it so everyone can learn from one another. 9. AA and AAA batteries. AA and AAA batteries are things you should check and stock up on before summer ends. Flashlights, headlamps, radios, thermometers, alarm devices, and some health monitoring tools may already be in your home. But that doesn't mean they'll work when you need them. Batteries usually don't warn you that they're about to die. A device may work normally today and then go completely silent on the exact night the power goes out. You only realize there's a problem when you turn on the flashlight and get no light. The radio can't broadcast weather alerts, or the thermometer can't take the temperature of someone with a fever. Data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration shows that electricity customers in the United States experienced an average of about 11 hours without power in 2024. 11 hours is long enough for a weak set of batteries to turn a flashlight, radio, or thermometer into useless objects. Ready.gov also recommends keeping flashlights, battery-powered radios, and spare batteries in a power outage emergency kit. For older adults, hearing aid batteries, thermometer batteries, and batteries for home medical devices need to be given separate priority. Losing light is already inconvenient, but losing the ability to hear alerts, check body temperature, or use a necessary assistive device can make the situation much harder to control. You don't need to overbuy. Go through each room and write down the important devices that use AA or 8AA batteries. Prepare at least one new set of batteries for every essential device. Then add a reasonable amount of spares. Keep new batteries in their original packaging, in a dry place, away from high temperatures, and separate from old batteries. Test each device directly, because new batteries won't help if the flashlight is broken or the contact points are corroded. Rechargeable batteries are very useful in everyday life, but during an extended power outage, you may no longer have a way to recharge them. That's why having a supply of fresh disposable batteries is still a backup worth keeping. A device without power is not a backup device. It's just an object sitting silently in a drawer. Which battery-powered device in your home would cause the greatest inconvenience if it stopped working tonight? 8. LED headlamp. Try finding medication, opening a can of food, or helping a family member through a dark hallway while one hand has to hold a flashlight. You still have light, but you've lost half your ability to get things done. That's why an LED headlamp should be purchased before summer ends. It doesn't just provide light. The beam moves in the direction you're looking, while both hands remain free to cook, change batteries, clean up spills, hold a handrail, or help someone else. A handheld flashlight takes up one hand. Candles leave both hands free, but they only light one area and create an open flame. The CDC recommends using flashlights or battery-powered lights instead of candles during a power outage to reduce the risk of fire. 11 hours means you may have to move around the house many times, use the bathroom, find medication, check food, or care for a family member in low-light conditions. For older adults, having both hands free is even more important. The CDC says that more than 14 million people age 65 and older, or about 1 in 4, report falling each year. Not every fall is related to a power outage, but a dark home, hard-to-see obstacles, and one occupied hand clearly create additional unnecessary risk. When buying one, choose a lightweight model with a large button, an easily adjustable strap, and a common battery type that you've already stocked. A low-light mode is also useful because it helps extend battery life. It's best to have at least 2, and keep them in easily accessible locations. Don't store both in a dark drawer that you need a light to find. Try them on, check the batteries, and make sure older adults in the family know how to turn them on. Buying equipment without testing it only creates a false sense of preparedness. A headlamp doesn't just help you see, it helps you keep moving, working, and caring for others when darkness takes away the most ordinary parts of daily life. If the power went out tonight, Could you find your light source within 10 seconds? 7. Battery-powered or hand-crank radio. A battery-powered or hand-crank radio should be prepared before summer ends, because sometimes the most dangerous part of an emergency isn't losing power. It's not knowing what's happening. Wi-Fi will stop working if the router loses power. Cell networks may slow down or become overloaded when too many people are calling and checking the news at the same time. Your phone may still work, but every time you open a map or refresh a page, you use battery power that you may not be able to recharge. At that point, a lack of information turns every decision into a guess. Is the storm changing direction or moving closer? Is the road ahead still passable? Is your area under an evacuation order? Is the tap water safe to use? A radio doesn't replace a phone. It creates another way to receive information when familiar systems are no longer reliable. Prioritize a model that can receive NOAA weather radio, along with local AM/FM stations. Weather radio provides official alerts, while local stations can provide updates on road closures, shelters, power and water conditions, and instructions specific to your area. A battery-powered model is easy to use and should take a common battery type that your family has already stocked. A hand crank adds another layer of backup when the batteries run out, but it shouldn't be a reason to skip stocking fresh batteries. For older adults, choose a radio with large buttons, a clear speaker, an easy-to-read display, and simple station controls. Complicated features are less valuable than a device everyone can operate in the dark or while under stress. The most common mistake is buying a radio and leaving it in the box. When it's needed, no one knows how to turn it on. The stations haven't been tuned, and the batteries aren't nearby. Install the batteries, save your local stations, and test the device regularly. A radio that has never been tested is not a backup plan. It's just a box that creates a sense of security. When phones and the internet go silent, a radio doesn't just bring the news back. It helps you know whether to stay, leave, or wait. If the cell network stopped working tonight, how would your family receive official alerts? 6. Rechargeable or battery-powered fan 90 degrees, or about 32 degrees C. That's an important threshold many people don't know about when using a fan in a home without power. Late summer heat can still last just as storms and power disruptions begin to appear. The air conditioning stops, the windows don't create enough airflow, and heat builds up in closed rooms. After only a few hours, sleeping, eating, or simply sitting still becomes exhausting. A rechargeable or battery-powered fan creates an area of moving air where you're resting. It doesn't lower the temperature of the entire home, but it can help your body feel more comfortable during the first few hours while you monitor the situation and decide what to do next. This benefit is especially important for people over 65. Older bodies often adjust to heat more slowly, while certain medical conditions and medications can increase the risk of being affected by hot weather. However, this point must not be misunderstood. A fan is not a miniature air conditioner. The CDC warns that when the indoor temperature rises above about 90 degrees Celsius, moving hot air may no longer cool the body effectively. Under those conditions, continuing to sit in front of a fan is not a safe plan. You need to move to an air-conditioned location, a cooling center, a library, a community center, or the home of a family member who has power. So the fan's real value is in buying you more time, not allowing you to remain indefinitely in an overheated home. Choose one with a stable base, multiple speed settings, and a clearly stated battery life. For older adults, large buttons, a lightweight design, and simple operation matter more than an attractive display or a long list of complicated modes. You also need to check what type of power source the fan uses. If it has a built-in rechargeable battery, keep the correct charging cable beside it and recharge it regularly. If it uses replaceable batteries, make sure that battery type is already in your backup supply. A fan with a dead battery on the hottest day is not a cooling solution. It's only a reminder that backup equipment also needs maintenance. A rechargeable fan does not replace a safe, cool shelter. It is the bridge that helps you get through the first few hours before the heat becomes a greater risk. If the air conditioning stopped working tonight, has your family identified a place you could go to escape the heat? 5. First aid kit and basic medical supplies. The biggest mistake in medical preparedness is thinking only about serious accidents. During an extended power outage or storm, the more common problem may simply be a cut while cleaning up, a fever after the pharmacy has closed, or an allergic reaction when roads are restricted. On a normal day, those situations can usually be handled quickly. During a disruption, the same problem can last longer because supplies are missing, medication can't be found, or no one knows where the necessary medical information is kept. A proper first aid kit should include gauze, medical tape, disposable gloves, a thermometer, and appropriate wound cleaning supplies. Over-the-counter medications should be based on your family's actual needs, rather than a long list of things no one knows how to use. For older adults, the most important part may not be inside the first aid kit. It may be a list of prescription medications, dosages, allergies, doctors' phone numbers, and pharmacy information. A power outage also creates another problem. Some medications need to be refrigerated, while devices such as nebulizers, oxygen concentrators, or breathing assistance equipment may depend on electricity. Don't wait until the day the power goes out to read the medication label. Ask your doctor or pharmacist in advance how long the medication can remain outside the refrigerator, how to store it temporarily, and what alternatives are available if the power is out for an extended period. Do not increase or reduce a dose on your own, or continue using medication that has been affected by temperature without professional guidance. A cooler and ice packs may be useful for some medications, but not every medication has the same requirements. The plan must be based on the specific medications your family uses. The first aid kit also needs to be opened and checked, not left sealed for years. Remove expired items, replace anything that has been used, and make sure every family member knows where the kit is stored. The value of a first aid kit is not in the number of items inside. It lies in its ability to help you respond correctly during those first few minutes and recognize when the situation has gone beyond what you can manage on your own. Small problems treated early often remain small problems. When was the last time you checked the medications and expiration dates in your first aid kit? 4. Cooler and reusable ice packs. A power outage doesn't just make the house darker, it also starts a countdown clock inside the refrigerator. According to the CDC, an unopened refrigerator will usually keep food safe for only about 4 hours. A full freezer can maintain its temperature for about 48 hours, while a half-full freezer will usually stay cold for about 24 hours. 4 hours may sound like a long time, but it passes very quickly when people keep opening the door to get water, check the milk, find food, or see how much the ice has melted. Every time the refrigerator door opens, cold air escapes, and the safe window continues to get shorter. That's why a cooler and several reusable ice packs deserve a place near the top of the list. When the temperature inside the refrigerator begins to rise, you can move the most important items into the cooler. Meat, fish, milk, eggs, leftovers, and certain medications with specific temperature storage requirements. The goal is to keep them at about 40 degrees or 4 degrees or below. But a cooler only works if the cold source has been prepared in advance. Set aside some space in the freezer for gel ice packs or frozen water bottles. They help the freezer stay cold longer during a power outage and can be quickly transferred to the cooler when needed. A small thermometer designed for a refrigerator or cooler is also more valuable than guessing by touch. Food may look normal, but still be unsafe. Smell, color, or a taste test are not reliable ways to check for bacteria. The important thing is to establish priorities. Don't try to save everything at once. Move temperature-controlled medications according to professional guidance first, followed by perishable foods and the items your family will actually need over the next few hours. You also shouldn't open the cooler constantly. Every time you lift the lid, heat from outside enters, just as it does with the refrigerator. A cooler cannot bring the power back. It also cannot protect food indefinitely, but it can slow down that 4-hour clock, reduce the amount of food you have to throw away, and help you protect the things that are hardest to replace. If you only had enough cold space for 5 items, what would you save first? 3. High-capacity power bank. A phone with 10% battery left doesn't mean you still have 10% of its convenience. During a power outage, it may mean you have only a small amount of time left to receive alerts, open a map, read messages from family, or make an important call. Today, phones are no longer used only for communication. They store contacts, medical information, banking apps, maps, weather alerts, and sometimes even the documents you need when you have to leave home quickly. But when you need your phone most, the battery often drains faster. When Wi-Fi stops working, the device switches to the cellular network. A weak signal forces the phone to keep searching for a cell tower. You turn up the brightness to read in the dark, open maps, check the news, and message several people. Every small action quietly shortens the communication time you have left. Ready.gov recommends that families prepare an alternative way to charge their phones during a power outage. A high-capacity power bank can serve that purpose, but only if it's actually ready. Power banks often fail before the power outage even happens. The device is sitting in a drawer while the right cable is in another room. The battery hasn't been charged in months, or the user has only looked at the indicator lights and never actually tried to fully charge a phone with the device itself. So don't choose one based only on the capacity number printed on the box. Choose a product from a reliable manufacturer, with a battery level that's easy to check, enough ports for your actual needs, and compatibility with your family's important devices. After buying it, perform a complete test. Fully charge the power bank, use it to charge your phone, and determine how long it actually takes. Keep all cables, adapters, and chargers together in a small bag instead of leaving them scattered around. When the power is out, backup power needs to be distributed as a limited resource. Phones used for alerts and communication must come first. Videos, games, and unnecessary apps can wait. Turning on battery saver mode, lowering the brightness, and downloading offline maps in advance can also extend usage time. The goal isn't to keep using your phone as you would on a normal day. The goal is to preserve its most important functions for as long as possible. Don't store the power bank in a hot vehicle or a damp location. Check and recharge it regularly, because batteries still degrade even when they're rarely used. A backup power source that isn't fully charged is not preparation. It's only a promise the device may not keep when you need it most. If you could charge only one device during the next power outage, which one would your family prioritize? 2. No cook food. You can store enough food for 2 weeks and still be unable to make a complete meal on the first night without power. The reason isn't the amount. It's that almost everything on the shelf requires some other condition before it can be used. Rice needs water and heat. Noodles have to be boiled. Dried beans take a long time. Frozen food depends on the freezer. If electricity, clean water, and a safe cooking source are all disrupted at the same time, Even a full stockpile can leave you standing in front of the shelves without knowing what to eat first. That's why no-cook food needs to be prepared as a separate group. Practical options may include peanut butter, pouched tuna or chicken, crackers, canned fruit, nuts, protein bars, shelf-stable milk, and certain packaged meals that can be eaten immediately. On the first day, this group allows your family to eat without constantly opening the refrigerator, using stored water, or consuming fuel. By the second day, it continues to help you save rice, noodles, and beans until you have a safer way to cook them. But don't just stack individual items on a shelf. Combine them into simple meals you can actually eat. Crackers with peanut butter, pouched tuna with canned fruit, or shelf-stable milk with a protein bar. For older adults, the ability to open and eat the food is just as important as its shelf life. Packaging that's too hard, lids that are too tight, portions that are too large, or food that's difficult to chew can turn a good product into a poor choice. Foods that are too salty also increase the need for drinking water, while stored water is a resource that needs to be conserved. So test one completely electricity-free meal in advance. You'll quickly discover which items are difficult to open, which ones require additional tools, and which portions are actually enough for your family. A stockpile shouldn't be measured only by the number of cans, bags, or days printed on the label. It should be measured by the number of meals you can open, use, and eat immediately when normal conditions all disappear at once. If the electricity and hot water both stopped working tonight, how many ready-to-eat meals does your family currently have? 1. Drinking water and a water filtration plan. Water still coming out of the faucet doesn't mean it's still safe. That's something many families only realize after a boil water advisory has been issued. Stores begin filling up, and cases of bottled water disappear faster than expected. Power outages, flooding, or problems with the water system can affect pumping, filtration, and disinfection. In some cases, the faucet still works, but the water is no longer safe for drinking, cooking, brushing your teeth, or taking medication. And that's why water has to be number one. You can manage for a few hours without Wi-Fi. You can eat cold food if the stove isn't working. But a lack of water immediately affects almost every other plan. Taking medication, preparing food, maintaining hygiene, and caring for older adults, young children, and pets. A common preparedness guideline is about 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days. For a family of 4, that's about 12 gallons, not including additional needs due to hot weather, medical conditions, or pets. But buying a few cases of bottled water still isn't a complete plan. You need 2 layers of protection. The first layer is water you've already stored. It helps your family get through the first few days without having to rush outside while roads, stores, or services are disrupted. Divide the water into containers that are easy to lift, especially if older adults live in the home. The second layer is a way to filter or treat water if the disruption continues. However, not every filter can remove viruses, chemicals, salt, or industrial contamination. Using the wrong filter can create a sense of safety without addressing the actual risk. Local government notices must always take priority. If a boil water advisory is issued, treat the water according to the instructions. If the water is chemically contaminated, boiling may not make it safer and can sometimes make the contaminants more concentrated. Calculate the amount of water based on the number of people, the number of days, and your actual needs. Rotate your water on schedule, store it in a cool place, and make sure every family member knows which supply is for drinking and which can be used for hygiene. Food helps you get through several days, but water determines whether medication, hygiene, and your family's entire preparedness plan can still function. If your water supply were disrupted for 3 days, Would your family truly have enough water? After today's 12 items, the most important thing isn't how many supplies you have in your home. What matters is whether those items can actually be used when the power goes out, the water supply is disrupted, or familiar services stop working. You don't need to buy everything in one day. Check what your family already has, identify the biggest weakness, and add each item based on how urgently it's needed. Preparedness isn't panic. It's about reducing the number of difficult decisions you have to make when you're hot, tired, without light, or don't have enough information. A home full of supplies is not necessarily a prepared home. The difference lies in whether you can continue eating, drinking, communicating, and caring for your family when normal conditions disappear. Which item does your family need to prepare first?